Welcome to the Truman Charities podcast, a community of caring. I am Jamie Truman, your host. I'm one of the co-founders of Truman Charities. Our organization has raised over $1 million for several different charities as we share our message of helping others and paying it forward. We plan to continue to educate our audience on the culture of giving. On this podcast, I will interview fellow charity founders, volunteers, sponsors, and other people in the community who will share their stories. You will hear and be inspired by their selflessness and passion for helping others. Welcome to another episode of A Community of Caring. Don't forget to rate and review this podcast for your chance to win a $50 Amazon gift card and my favorite gratitude journal. Please screenshot your review before you hit submit and send it to me via Facebook at Truman Charities or Instagram at Jamie_Truman Charities. Now let me introduce my guest today, founder of Story Tapestries, Arianna Ross. How are you?
I am good. How are you doing?
I'm so good. I'm so excited that you were able to take the time out to speak with us today. And so let's just get right into it. Now, you founded Story Tapestries. Can you tell us a little bit about your story and why this was created?
Yeah, it was interesting. I've been a teaching artist and a storyteller and a performer for 23 years. And almost 11 years ago, I was faced with a problem. And I didn't know what to do. There were so many schools out there that couldn't afford access to programs. They couldn't afford to have an artist come into their schools. So I started, actually at that point, it would have been 12 years ago, writing grants, doing things. And people said to me, why aren't you all a not-for-profit? You keep writing grants. You keep trying to raise money. And I was like, oh, no, that's too much work. I don't want to be a not-for-profit. And then within like 6 months, I was like, okay, maybe we should be a not-for-profit. And that's really what it was born out of, was a solution to a problem. How do we support schools? How do we support the community who does not have equal access to the same kinds of programs as other communities?
Okay, that's great. So let's talk a little bit about your programs and how they are so different from so many other organizations and what makes them so unique and special. So can you explain how each of your programs in the school are catered to that specific school?
Absolutely. So we have a process called the collaborative listening process. And one of the first things that we do when we start working with the community is we take the time to really listen, to hear what their needs are, what they want, what they desire. We meet with parents, we meet with stakeholders, we meet with teachers, administrators, community leaders, libraries, anyone who's serving the youth within that community. And so we really try to get as full of a picture as possible before we even begin a program. And then all of our programs are custom designed to meet the needs of the community. We really try to select an artist who really reflects and represents the community. For example, we work with PG County, as well as Montgomery County, as well as Anne Arundel County School System. But PG County has an immersion language program. And their immersion language program, they have programs that are Spanish immersion language, Chinese immersion language. And recently, this week, I met with the head of the program, and she said, Arianna, I need your help. I said, uh-oh. Usually when she says that, I know that it's like something that I'm like, all right, what am I grappling with? She said, you've done an amazing job this year of working with our Spanish language immersion programs, finding artists that really have the skills and the ability, because the key is it's not just a matter of finding someone that reflects the language, but it's someone that can match with what the needs of the community are. So our artists partner with teachers, with community leaders, and they facilitate lessons that improve literacy, lessons that improve critical thinking skills, math skills, social emotional skills. Some artists are brought in to deal with mental health issues. So in this particular case, she said, Arianna, we are seeing a huge influx of French language speaking individuals. And I was like, uh-oh. I was like, I don't know if I have any artists on our team right now who are French language seeking immigrants. But she said, I know that you could find someone, Arianna. I know. And that really is also part of our specialty, is that someone will come to us and I know you can find someone. And my
Right.
team really puts the word out. And in this particular case, we're really looking at partnering with local artists who maybe are not educators, but
Mhm.
maybe in their country, they were an artist or they were a folk artist. And so partnering them with an educator, someone who's really skilled in understanding curriculum, teaching literacy, teaching math, and partnering them with that artist so that the classroom will not only have their skills as an artist, but our skills as teachers, while
Wow.
simultaneously we'll be training the local artist to be able to work in the school system and serve the
Now,
community.
could you walk us through one of the school programs through like the eyes of a student?
So I always say that the kids that work with us, it's like watching magic. So I remember recently a young boy came up to me and he messaged me because this year has been all about Zoom. And he messaged me, he said, Arianna, when your artists come to my classroom, the world shifts. And I said, huh? What do you mean by the world shifts? So to give you a picture, right, is an artist comes in, plans with the teacher a lesson. Maybe it's a puppetry lesson. Maybe it is a visual arts lesson. So they partner with the teacher. And all the child sees, though, is suddenly there's this shift of dynamic and their voice suddenly matters more. And the artist is really listening to them and they're cultivating that child's voice to be able to either make up a math word problem, to be able to draw a picture, to be able to tell their story, create a puppet. Recently, this same kid, he said, I always thought math was really boring. And then the dancer came in and had us literally dance fractions, dance the word problems, and suddenly solving a word problem became easy. So one of the really simple techniques that he, shared with me was he said, I never thought about the fact that if you take two numbers, you bring them together and they explode, that's essentially multiplication. And so he said, by physicalizing what multiplication means was my time to solve the problem on a test, I was able to do it quickly.
Oh my gosh, that must just warm your heart. I mean, makes all of the hard work worth it. I absolutely love that story. Now, you guys don't just do programs for schools. You created a seniors program during COVID.
Yep.
And I was very interested in that. And it's very important to the community. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
I will admit, I love working with the kids, and I've seen kids all the way from like literally 2-year-olds this afternoon to, high schools and high school students and college students, but the seniors. So we were faced with an issue and we met with individuals in the state and individuals in the community, basically expressing to us that seniors felt incredibly isolated during COVID. They felt like they were trapped in their homes and they couldn't connect, they couldn't leave, and a lot of senior centers had shut down. Now, what people don't necessarily realize that even now, although senior centers are starting to open again, seniors still feel panicked and isolated and stressed out about leaving their home. They're afraid. So this program, which we call Sage Stories or Share Your Life Stories, and I call it Sunshine Kits and Sunshine because the couple of times that I've been able to attend the programs, I've watched seniors just light up. On the day that we have programs, we've had broadcast style programs. So it's similar to a podcast style, except that it would be live and people could register to just watch it like a television show, or we would rebroadcast and they would watch it later on. Then after the broadcast version during COVID, they asked us to do COVID sort of story circles, where part of the time was honestly spent, there's a Yiddish word means kibitzing, which means just chit-chatting.
Mm-hmm.
So part of it was chit-chatting, and sometimes with these seniors, we'd have to be like, all right, now time for the program, because they would want to keep chit-chatting.
Right.
And my favorite was every time we had this program, we always had to have our whole staff on deck because our phones would be ringing nonstop with, hold on one second, young lady, I need to get online. And I kid you not, it was the voice every time. There was this 93-year-old woman every single time who literally would call me. And I know that she had my number on speed dial, even though I wasn't necessarily the staff involved. And she'd be like, okay, walk me through again. How do I do this? And I'd be like, okay, you hang up with me, you dial the number, then you press pound. Ariana, what's the pound button? It's the one in the right-hand corner. Not the left-hand corner. No, the right-hand corner. Hit pound, then hit your code, then hit pound again. Are you sure it's not star? I mean, but the thing is that they would sign on, whether it was via phone or via Zoom, and they just loved it. They loved the stories. And we had three
Now, what was during the broadcast? Did they switch? Was it stories? Was people performing?
So there were three different artists who participated in the program, and we particularly picked three different artists from three entirely different cultural backgrounds. So one person was more of a spoken word artist and a beatbox artist, and he told his stories and he did his programs. And then there was another artist, a woman from Israel, who actually lived on the border of the Gaza Strip and growing up with friends who are Palestinian and telling her childhood stories. And then there was another woman who grew up in all over the United States. Her father was in the military. And so telling the story of her childhood, it was a lot of personal narratives and childhood stories because we found that's what connected to the seniors the most. Now, in addition to that program, we also found that seniors wanted things to do. So we put together, and it was crazy. I'm not going to lie to you. It was the most, because of COVID, we couldn't work with businesses like we would normally do. So we had to put together 4,000 kits that were going to go across the state of Maryland. And we could only have a certain number of volunteers in the space because this was in January when the rules were still pretty strict.
Right.
We had to have a certain number of volunteers. They had to be spaced out. We had to take people's temperature as they entered the space, but we had to pack, and we had Glen Echo Park. I don't know if you've had a chance to speak with them at all, but Glen Echo Park actually lent us out one of their ballrooms, one of their dance spaces, dance studios, to actually pack the kits. But we really had to get it done in a week and a half due to COVID rules. So every day from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. at night, different staff and different teammates rotated in and out of the space. And we did it. We got 4,000 kits packed and dropped off at various sort of food delivery locations across the state. And they delivered food plus our kits to seniors.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. You guys just do so much important work for the community. And that's not it. You mentioned kits, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to make sure that I mention your art literacy kits. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I think what you guys did was so important for children.
Thank you. And I will say the art and literacy kits are still continuing on. If anyone's interested, basically what they are is we worked with business leaders, so Fitzgerald Auto, as well as other companies to essentially, and the Nora Roberts Foundation supported this and the Blair Family Foundation supported it. And what we did is we put together journals, Play-Doh, markers. Sometimes it was simple things inside Story Tapestries bags. And then we delivered them to children and schools across the community. What we discovered in the beginning of COVID during virtual learning was that sometimes kids didn't have even paper or pencils at home. And even though the schools would provide them with supplies, sometimes it was really difficult for parents to go to school and pick them up. Mm-hmm. And so I remember one of my staff being on a class call, and she saw a student drawing with an eyeliner.
Oh my gosh, that's heartbreaking.
We were like, and I'm not going to lie, it's heartbreaking at the same time. You would giggle a little because you were like, is that a paper towel you're drawing on? That's what I have. And you'd be like, any pencil, any paper? Well, my mom says we have recycling receipts. So we really started to talk to local businesses and local donors, and we started to just gather supplies. We applied to the Children's Opportunity Fund, and now we're working with 6 early childhood centers across the region. And for the next 7 months, it started in March, we're providing 315 now kits. So one for each child. And today I was actually at one of the facilities, and they're giving out their May Kit like 2 days late, but they were so sweet. They're like, Arianna, you have no idea. Every time we give out these kits, the parents just thank us because these are not parents that can afford to buy these supplies. So these kits in particular are even take it to the next level because we have an artist designing lessons.
Oh,
and so this past month was watercolor. So it's watercolor and crayon resist and watercolor paper. And one of the kids today at our performance, we had a live in-person performance today, one of our very first.
Well, it's very exciting.
Oh, it was. I will admit the cicadas, though, almost got in the way because it was supposed to be outside. And we had to figure out a way to do it inside with windows open and masked because the cicadas were too loud, Jamie.
They're so loud. It's bad. It's very bad.
The little kids were like, we can't hear the artist. And we were like, we're going to move inside. Like, those buggies are too loud. But this little kid came up and, right now because of COVID, we're still little kids just want to give you hugs. And he goes, I heard you guys are the art people. And we were like, huh? You're the people that sends home the kits. Last month, I made a picture. My mom still has it on the refrigerator.
Oh, I love that the kids love it just as much as the parents do. So it's not only a kit to help the parents.
Yes.
It's a kit that the kids look forward to, and they're so excited about it. Now, there's another program. I know you have so many great programs, but Amplify Us. Can you just touch on that for a few minutes for me?
Yeah, I will admit this is kind of a heart project for me. Amplify Us is really about sort of bridging the gap between communities, helping individuals find their voice and tell their story. It specifically involves a racial equity facilitator and a teaching artist. It came out of community meetings almost 4 years ago when we saw an uptick in hate crimes. And we saw communities really struggling with solutions. And what they expressed to us is they didn't want another program that trained people. What they wanted was an organization to create a courageous or brave space. And they even corrected us to say that sometimes space isn't safe because it's difficult to tell stories that matter. And so they wanted a courageous and brave space where they could come together with individuals from different walks of life to be able to tell stories and have someone facilitate the conversations. So at one point, one of my favorite examples I can quickly share was there was an individual, a man, he was originally from England, and he got partnered with a young boy from El Salvador. And he was very clear. My wife made me come, the older gentleman. I did not want to come to this workshop. And we were like, ooh, okay.
Not a good way to start.
Right. So when he partnered with this young boy, I literally prepped the young boy. I was like, look, just wave your hand if you need one of us to stop by. But while they were talking, there was no raising of hands, nothing. And when it came time to share stories, the older man was the first person to stand up. And he stood up and he said, I'd like to correct myself. I always thought immigrants were here to take our jobs and make life more difficult. I realized that this young boy's story is the exact same story of my family. I came here during World War II. My parents sent me on my own to go live with relatives, and this young man had the same situation.
Oh, wow. That's so powerful.
And that to me is what Amplify Us is about. It's about shifting mindsets, and it's about really shifting the narrative and creating a place for people to actually learn the tools that they can use to advocate for themselves.
Wow. That's so significant. I absolutely love what you guys are doing. And so I know that you talked a little bit about how you just had your first outdoor event. Didn't go so well because of the cicadas, but the cicadas are leaving hopefully in a few weeks. And I know that you guys have some fun summer outdoor events. Can you tell me a little bit about them?
Absolutely. So this summer, we have a series of events that are going to be occurring. We're still confirming all of the dates and all of the pieces of the puzzle. So I can, Jamie, send that to you so that you have all of those dates. But we are working with the parks. And part of it is the COVID rules keep changing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're just trying to navigate and figure out. So we are working with the Park Service to offer performances potentially in parks in Upper Montgomery County, in the Germantown area, as well as in Silver Spring. We're working with Glen Echo to offer outdoor performances in their space for free to the community in August and in September. And then we just received a neighborhood grant. I don't know if you're familiar with the neighborhood grant program, but neighborhoods can actually give funding. So the Bethesda neighborhood grant actually just gave us funds, and we're going to be working with a daycare center there to provide potentially an outdoor performance so that people can come from the various areas around. And we are also simultaneously to that recognizing that some people are still uncomfortable. Either they're not vaccinated or they're not ready yet.
Absolutely.
So all of these programs are going to be listed on our website, and there's going to be a virtual option. So we'll have someone filming it so that people can actually watch it virtually. We just did it with the Baltimore City Library System. So what they did is they set up a computer and a camera in the front seat, and they streamed it to Facebook and YouTube simultaneously during the performance in the back of a library.
And how did that work? Did it go over well?
It went really well. It went really, really well. And they kept up the link. The Enoch Pratt Library System is keeping it up for the next sort of couple of weeks. And that's kind of our intention and our plan is each performance. That's what we're going to do to be able to, support the community and ensure that everybody has access to these performances.
So everybody can be involved. You don't want anybody to be left out. So I absolutely love that idea. And everybody's been able to find creative ways for everyone to be involved. So can you tell me, if someone's coming to your outdoor event, can you tell me a little bit about their experience? What's it like?
So it is our plan. And as I said, COVID may adjust our rules, but hopefully not. But it is our plan. So when someone comes, they will be greeted by a volunteer. They will be able to find their family spot. When they come to their family spot, they'll be able to watch the performance. All of our artists are extremely interactive. So it's really about that give or take, that fun interaction. There's going to be singing. There's going to be dancing. You will not be sitting and just sitting back and watching something. You'll definitely be engaged and involved. After the event, one of our partners, Game Genius, sometimes Peter Williamson, he used to be a pro golfer. And then he founded a organization called Game Genius, which is really about gaming and playing, but with a sort of social justice philanthropic bent. And so there will be a couple of times in which he'll actually be there and give the opportunity for families to play games afterwards. In addition, we will have art and literacy kits to give away. So families who come will not leave empty-handed. They'll leave with an art and literacy kit that they can take back home and do, or they can sit on their blanket or their towel on the ground and they can really play. For those that don't have access to blankets and towels, we actually are purchasing sort of spots. Mm-hmm. So that people can, find a spot to sit. And if it's wet, they'll be able to sort of, participate. And one of our first ones that we know for sure that's happening, this is not in Montgomery County, but is in Baltimore, that on July the 28th, and I know that seems far away, but a lot of places wanted to make it not put it in June, just in case. Mm-hmm. So July the 28th with Enoch Pratt Library System, we're doing a program. And then on July 8th and July 22nd, hopefully that's when we're going to be doing it in the parks. But again, we're sort of in the process of coordinating that.
Oh my gosh. Well, these events sound like so much fun. Everyone's going to really enjoy them. So how do you guys fundraise?
So I tell people it's a combination of various tools and things. So one way we fundraise is that on October the 1st, we are having a virtual gala. We did make a decision to leave it virtual because we had to decide a long time ago, and it was too costly to do it hybrid. And for us, what is more important when we raise the money is that the money goes directly into the program. So when you buy a ticket, it's not going to just cover the cost of the event. So people can buy a ticket. It's $20. They can go to our website right now and see the information, which is storytapestries.org. So that's one way. So one way someone can go to an event. We're actually having this Sunday, June the 6th, we're actually having like a virtual house party. Now, I know that that's right now, but also sort of during the summertime, we may be having at these events, these outdoor events, giving people an opportunity if they'd like to sort of via text to give solution or sort of PayPal or Venmo, they can make a donation, or directly on our website, they can make a donation and they can give that way. Now, I know for some people that's difficult. Like a dollar donation is hard right now.
Mhm.
They themselves are struggling. So, but sometimes when you're buying like a pack of crayons for your kids, we have an Amazon wish list. So they could buy an extra pack of crayons and have that sent to us. Or I don't know about everybody else, but I use Amazon a lot. I know I should probably use it less, but
Right.
Amazon Smile is another way. So people can make a donation simply by choosing us as their spot.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and
There's
then
so many different ways. I love this. You've made it easy for everyone to help you guys. So when do your tickets for your annual gala, when are they available?
so they are available now.
Oh, they're available now. Okay. Okay. So you can go straight onto your website and get them. Now, if I were interested and I was one of the listeners and I wanted to become a sponsor, how do I do that?
So we have two processes. One, if someone wants to specifically sponsor the gala, although that they know that their dollars are going to programs, on the actual page in our website, they can go to our support us section. And in the links, there's actually a link that is specifically about sponsoring the gala and our programs. They can directly sponsor to the gala and therefore sort of generally across all of our programs. Now, if someone says, I'm really interested in the Amplify Us, I'm really interested in the senior program, or I'm interested in the early childhood program, we have an annual sponsorship program. So they can sponsor specifically that program, and then their logo would go sort of on the material that's going out to their program. So, for example, Fitzgerald Auto and the Nora Roberts Foundation, they actually were a part of our early childhood literacy program, Discover the Power of the Written Word. And it was specifically Fitzgerald's Toyota program. And so their logo went on that program. And then every time, a kit goes out to those kids, they can see it.
Great. So now the listeners know how to get a ticket for your annual gala, become a sponsor, or just, help you guys out in various different ways. What if someone is looking to volunteer? Are you looking for volunteers? And if so, what capacity?
Oh my goodness. So I tell people we have a range. I shared with you the link for our volunteers that's in that document. I shared with you that link because what I find is people have specific interests. They're like, ooh, I want to do. So one of our signature programs that began during COVID was a program called Magical World of Words. So if someone's like, I don't have a lot of time, but I like to read stories, they could either record themselves reading a story and then we post it on Wednesdays. Magical World of Words happens on Wednesdays. You can tune into Facebook and you can literally click on a link and click on, either go live. It's at 9, noon, 3, and 6 p.m. So someone could volunteer to either do it live or do it sort of recorded. Another way that they can volunteer is sort of on the back end. If they're like, I'm a social media fiend, I like social media. So we're always looking for people to share our posts and reach out to their network. In addition, some people are really more passionate about our Amplify Us program. So someone could actually volunteer to be what we call a support facilitator, either in person or via Zoom. And a support facilitator's job is to really spotlight, manage a breakout room, just help with the technological aspect. And then another element, now we found this very specifically via the Zoom world, although I don't see it going away, is if there's someone who just likes to be, I call it a positivity champ, someone who just likes to encourage people, having someone on Zoom during a class or a workshop or performance who literally is in the chat being like, oh my goodness, I noticed your smile. Thank you so much for smiling. It makes the world of difference, whether you're an adult or a child, to have a positivity champ. So we're looking to see, Yeah, we're looking to see how that particular volunteer opportunity was COVID related, to see how we can then transfer that to the live world, because I feel like everybody could use someone complimenting them.
I think everybody needs a positivity champ with them all day. Wouldn't that be amazing? Right? Now, if any of the listeners want to get in touch with you, they have questions, they want to get more information about your organization, how do they do that?
So the best way to get in touch with us is, I would say there's two options. One is to send an email to administrator@storytapestries.org. And if they're like, I'm going to forget that, they can also just go straight to our website and click contact us and say, I'm really interested in volunteering or sponsoring or donating. And that email will go straight to our team. And then the other way is, if you're a phone person, our office phone, 301-916-6328. You can always pick up the phone and call and hit one of our extensions and you'll get a smile. And I tell people the last way to get a hold of us is reach out to me directly. And that my email address is simply Arianna, Arianna, @storytapestries.org. And one of my favorite things in the world to do is to honestly talk to people and listen and to hear, oh, I want to sponsor this program, or have you thought about this, or do you have time to go for coffee? I think the thing I missed the most during the pandemic world was virtual coffee is not the same as in-person coffee with donors and sponsors and family members. A mom recently reached out to tell me her daughter is now in, is it the 10th grade? And she said, I didn't realize how much she needed your program until the other day. She was telling me, Mommy, because of Story Tapestries, I feel like I found my voice again. Oh. And I like parent calls as much as donor calls.
That melts my heart. I love all of these stories. Now, like myself, I love following you guys on social media and seeing all the wonderful things that you're doing in the community. How can someone follow you?
So this is not my strength. So I know that Facebook, it's just Story Tapestries, but I believe Facebook, is it the hashtag or the @ sign?
It's @
This is where I am. I'm the person who doesn't necessarily do all of this stuff, but for Story Tapestries, it's just the @. And then Instagram, it's Story Tapestries Engage. For LinkedIn, it is really Story-Tapestries. And Twitter. And I recommend, we have a robust, and I know people don't think of this as social media, but we have a robust YouTube channel. So if any of your listeners are parents or adults who just want to tune out and listen or watch something, we constantly are posting on our YouTube channels, videos, performances. My youngest child loves to just turn our YouTube channel on and just watch our artists tell stories.
Oh yeah. I think my kids could watch it for hours. It's fantastic content. So Arianna, I admire what you do, what you have done, what you will continue to do in the community. And I am so thankful that you took the time to speak with us today. And I want to thank all the listeners for tuning in to another episode of A Community of Caring. Until next time, everyone, thank you so much, Arianna.
Thank you. I appreciate it immensely. The opportunity to share stories means all the world to me.
Of course. Thanks. If you would like to learn more about our organization, please follow us on Facebook @Truman Charities or Instagram @Jamie_Truman Charities, or check out our website, trumancharities.com. I hope you enjoyed listening and hearing stories of selflessness and caring. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.